世间所有的相遇，都是久别重逢。
We spent almost a week, right? Try to put one of the potential player, Canada, right? It's a country, right? So on the chart, we were going to build a stage, as we said, right? And we started from the visit from the Canadian Premier Mark Carney to China, right? Then to Middle East, right? Then got into the Davos, right? And speech there as well. Right? So the thread linking things together, that can be different from different perspectives. My interest is building up the business, right? And especially taking Canada as a pilot stage, right? And I strongly believe that Canada has a potential to reindustrialize and to leverage the AI and robotics to create new workforces, as I proposed, right? And also the rupture, as Mr. Carney put it, right? Rather than integration, it is opportunity. So we need to navigate the regulatory minefield, right? When in a war state, if you have to frame it in that way, right? I don't know if you listen to the speeches in Davos, right? But to me, it's very impressive. It is very evident that the world is changing, right? And one of the big changes, I frame it, and I use my simplistic whiteboard. So we have to frame the conversation. We have to simplify the whole thing, yet allow us to be drilled down to very fine details. And those details has to make sense, right? Because otherwise you could easily get lost or get hoppered up, right? You don't know really what you're looking for. The critical thing, a critical measure, is how much you can put into action to change whatever you want to change, the world, the country, your company, your business, get more revenue or whatever, yourself. Even make yourself happy, that's good. But if you cannot, then whatever happened doesn't really mean anything. Doesn't mean much to you. Maybe just excitement, that's it, right? So that is the angle we are looking at this, right? So we put Canada on the chart, then Carney, the premier, is representation, just like Elon Musk is representing his company. He's bigger than the companies, right? But, Canada is bigger than Mr. Carney. But in any case, like, we have to put a face. That's what we're doing. Ren Zhengfei is Huawei, right? Again, it's not really, it's kind of old, right? He's not really grabbing a lot of power there. Still have influences, but he created. Same thing, like, we put Demis Hassabis as DeepMind CEO for Google, together with Eric Schmidt, right? By the way, both of them speak in the Davos, I believe, right? Or some conversations. Now, I've been talking a lot, right? I can talk more, but it not sure how many of you have the time to listen to a long conversation. So the main point, if you will, it's really, I propose a new new angle, if you will. All these silver is a perfect storm. Is if you watch the market, Chicago CES, the Chicago Exchange, right? It's not CES. CES in Las Vegas, it kind of mixed up. Sorry for that. And it's kind of a gap between the paper, whatever the contract, futures, options, right? The large sum commodity kind of thing, right? But can they deliver that? Right? Why cannot? The price gap also kind of big, right? And China kind of instilled some sort of restrictions, and the mines in South America got into trouble, right? So what is this? Why this all happening this time, right? Silver. We examine the silver in China for 1,000 years, how it come by today, and also how going to have been impacting the lives of, to the scale of what we call civilization. It's a big word, right? Down to earth, you have to be really specific how it happened in the Song Dynasty, in the Ming Dynasty, right? And in the latest Qing Dynasty, right? And where the America come into existence, and Britain played a role, right? Spanish, right? So this is where the financial ecosystem is also evolving. Right? The rise of AI and robotics, right? In my term, I call it, many people call it physical AI, but to me, I call it sovereign robotics. Right? I don't know if I created it, but, whether it stick or not, but it's what I believe in. And I have been spent hours and hours explaining that. Really, if you look at it, there are 6 layers, right? If you will. I used my board, this, I don't know if you can see it, right? In the bottom, obviously, there are different ways to look at it, right? If you listen to Jason Huang and others, right? But my way of looking at it is really to simplify yet meaningful, right? This is more of the energy. We all know that. How many data centers built, how many chips on the shelf eating dust. Energy is number one, but energy is kind of another way looking at what matter physics, right? Physically, right? This matters and energy, right? They belong on the same layer, but you can split it into 2, doesn't matter. You can split one layer into 9, 20, doesn't matter, right? So like silver belong on the same thing. The elements, critical elements, rare earth, right? The mines, the timbers, right? All kind of things. You have to be physical. Whatever you can say, I don't want to get into the quantum physics, right? The matter and and the energy, that's really the same. But essentially, how do you, when you talk about physical AI, what do you mean? Just moving the cup from one table to another table, or put it in your hand and drink it, AI? Or is it really like whatever you call it, AI, is one force that allow you to interact, to build a relationship with the physical world, right? In an AI way. A better word would be, robotics, right? Like a rocket is a robotics, right? A military weapons and robotics, right? Robots is obviously a robotics. Can be like a human, can be a humanoid, whatever. Robots can be like just an arm, right? Making a coffee, right? It can sweep the floor, right? It can be a dog. Preferably the human-like kind of robot. I explain what is the advantage and why, right? But now the second layer, I call it, first level is the sort of energy or silver, the physical elements, right? Where we can see in the physical world, right? But second layer is more infrastructure. So the humans, what is entropy is, right? Anti-entropy, right? You make it in an order, rule-based, like you build highways, right? You make all kinds of rules, allow the money flow. We call it rails, right? Like a railway, right? You have high-speed trains. You have orbiting, how many satellites orbiting the Earth have starlings, right? You have rule of laws, right? Make sure people behave in a way that, not got into conflict with everybody else, right? All those, in my opinion, doesn't matter how you look at this infrastructure, allow the money to run, allow the commodities, the products, the commerce, the people they have to function in a infrastructure. I don't know. That's my way of looking at more physics kind of way, not so much philosophy. Right? But again, you might have a different belief, right? I call it infrastructure. The information need to flow. They need the infrastructure. Right? Do they not? Right? And so energy, matter, elements, the infrastructure, doesn't matter is reals of money, rule of law, or the highway or rocket, whatever, the way how we do commerce, right? How we behave, the families, how we organize a family, how build a community, why you build a nation, why do you need nations, right? Why? A lot of infrastructure in play, right? You have to function. You don't want to build a kid, you want freedom, but if you don't have a country, you don't have a nation, you don't have a family, what does it really freedom mean to you, right? You need those infrastructure allow you to function in a meaningful way. Okay? It's like even a electron each orbit, right, along the nucleus, right? Your freedom, right? What is that freedom? You just get into another nucleus, right? Is that freedom? I don't know, right? Same thing with us, right? Canada as a country is a significant player, right? But it has to come together. You can't have your different opinion. I respect that. But again, you have to have your constitution. You have to have infrastructure in place, right? You have to have try to reindustrialize your country, build a new workforce, right? The money will flow if you want to facilitate the commodity, this, whatever you want to see, assembly point or corridor. You have to build infrastructure, right? The capital flow need an infrastructure as well. You need a way reorganize it, okay? I'm not sure if you get it, right? You probably need to get away from this everyday chaotic news and breaking news and surprises. Read a couple books, right? Think through. It's not so hard to understand. And it's not so hard to build it up either. Right? But somebody has to build it. That's where physical AI, we call it physical, right? You need sovereignty, as Carney said, right? Without sovereignty, it's like you all have freedom, right? Not even attached to anything, no sovereignty either. So would that be the best way? I don't know. Like, you figure it out, right? This is what we mean infrastructure. The third layer, you can either compute, right? You can call it chips, right? How the got into the digital world, right? It's really the computing, the chips, the representative, right? Everybody try to build chips. You heard of the AI5. Elon Musk gonna build it, right? Typically, we take 18 to 24 months to even design it. He said, no, I'm gonna get it, right? The NVIDIA, this acquisition got whatever, the 20 billion, right? Intel want to catch up AMD, right? Qualcomm, many others, right? In China, you have like 10, 20, right? Huawei representation, right? We talk with the 3T. Taiwan, they have the Taiwan, the chips, right? Whatever that Taijidian. Okay, I don't know what is the English translation, but essentially chip maker, right? And there are some others, right? There's some others may not be so significant, right? Okay, Taiwan trade and tariff, right? It's called 3T. People like to have these kind of cute things, right? It doesn't really mean much, but you get it, right? So these are the computing or chips. That's a huge competition. What do they need? They need energy as well to make chips. They need material elements to make chips, right? Silver, why is it important? It's not just a currency. It is a critical element in the AI and robotics era, right? Electricity, right? You need something to, that is not the only one, by the way. There are many. If you think of the table, like chemistry, like element, right? What do you call it? But in any case, I think you get it. We can look into that. We touched on it. So number 4, in my opinion, right? It is where this is 1, 2, 3, right? Number 4, more like a model, right? Like transformer-based large language model, multimodal model, view language, action model, right? Many models you're going to build. Most importantly, enterprise need to build private model, in my opinion, which I'm building. Right? You have to be very domain specific. You have to be private. You don't want to, where sovereignty is from. You need to have resources, like you have to have minerals, the silvers, right? Like Canada is rich in that, timbers, right? Fishes, water, right? Energy, okay? Mines, diamond, gold. You have to have that. Otherwise, where your sovereignty is from, if you rely on same thing, if your model, your brain is, you're renting a brain, like a model from others, they can just close the shop, right? Change the lock and remotely lock it. So what do you do? You build a workforce, use very advanced large language model or machine learning model or AI model, but you're not actually, not in your hand, in your control. You don't have sovereignty, do you? Right? That's important. Like a person, I think of a person, enterprise, country is another form of organization. If your brain, you put something into your brain and suddenly you lost control, you still a person, you still have that sovereignty, that independence, that personhood, whatever you call it. You don't, right? Because you don't have the control. In a way, in a personal level, you don't have a sovereignty, right? In the enterprise level, again, you need to work together with all other businesses. But again, if you don't have your own, you build a workforce, the data analyst, the data engineer, the risk management, whatever, the sales, whatever the service, whoever doing mortgage in the capital market, doing some transactions, futures, all that kind of stuff, right? But hey, the workforce, as I said, one person, one human being, and 100 robotic being. Again, it's a term, I made it up, right? The workers, the workforce, right? AI agents, whatever, algorithms, modules, whatever, intelligent, AI-powered banking, right? Think of a bank, right? Hey, that large language model or whatever AI model, you don't have control. It's not private. You don't have control. They can lock it right away. Right? So you don't have sovereignty. That's what I mean by sovereignty. Independence, sovereignty, you can use it, whichever way you want. Meaning you do not have to create everything, but whatever you run on locally, local run, remember that? Sovereign robotics, local run, right? You must have your enterprise, private, domain specific. I call it ontology. Just a model doesn't really help you much. Right? You have to, the business has to be in a way that, modeled in a way that, we talk about digital twins, more than that. Right? I'm going to make something about ontology. I think people, 99% has got it wrong. They don't understand what ontology is. Right? And, it doesn't have to follow the same model as what is a company? Palantir proposed, right? They're doing one thing. They're old school. Again, they might be very successful, but that means they're not old school, right? Many old school things are, companies are doing very successful, right? But again, doesn't mean they are advanced, okay? The thinking, the way of doing it is not advanced, right? And if you want to do it really in the robotic, sovereign robotics, you need a real ontology, okay? That's what I'm building. And I explain how, and now that's model, right? Then number 5 is the application. The application is always the king. You must be physical AI that able to move a cup of tea or make a coffee or cook a meal, maybe digging the mine or cutting the timber, right? Refining your whatever your minerals, right? Your silver, your rare earths, right? Think about it. If you can create 100 times more workforce, then the shortage of labor is solved, right? We're good in targeting age of abundance, right? Whatever you pronounce it. My English is kind of secondhand, right? So Elon Musk proposed that. That would be great, right? But again, those are fifth layer. You cannot do without this, whatever. You cannot just focus on application or focus on language model, focus on whatever model you do. You need other 3 tier. Right? That's where sovereign is from. But again, money, right? If you don't have rails, it doesn't matter you have billions or trillions. How do you move it? How do you pass it down, right? Thinking of this inheritance, pass it down, tax, whatever that left over, it's important, right? You need an infrastructure. You need new regulations, even a new civilization form in the age of AI and robotics to think that, okay? I don't know if you read, that's a fundamental problem. If we don't accumulate wealth, we don't need to pass it on. We don't need to distribute it to be fair and just. Then who need a family? Who need a state? Who need a coercion? Who need a war, right? For what? Those are the same thing. You need it because you have leftover, right? You want to pass down. You want to distribute it. You want to be fair. You want to be benevolent. You have to use force if you want to be benevolent. That's a country. That's what a nation do, right? Laws, okay? Because otherwise, everybody is free. You got into chaotic, anarchic kind of state, right? Is that physics? Is that AI? Is that robotics? Or is it politics? It's the same thing, right? It's very simple, right? Why we got into crisis? Nobody wants to produce children anymore. I mean, I'm probably one of the rare guys who produce a lot of children. But in any case, why? Do you understand why? Would AI and robotics solve that problem? You figure it out, right? In any case, for the final tier, rather than just pure applications of physical AI, we're really building a new kind of robotic being, a workforce, right? A new civilization form. Doesn't matter what you name it, right? You have to target, something that is really like a breakthrough. You're changing fundamentally what human beings are, right? If you change the workforce, you change the way we work, we study, right? We do business, even how we think, how we continue as a species on the earth. You're changing something fundamental, right? Doesn't matter AI or not AI, right? But again, many people want to put physical and robotics in one layer, and again split the infrastructure. They have energy and matter. That's fine. Doesn't matter. It's my way of doing it. I make it simple. You might know, you might not know why I put it 6. I don't want to go 7. 7, you can say, well, they put it here for convenience, right? 7 is like sovereign robotics. Out of all those, whatever you call it, can be a component, can be an eye, can be just a dog carrying whatever the things, can be a rocket. But again, that sovereign robotics be part of your workforce, living together day in, day out, changing the world, right? Together with you, right? That's important. That's called sovereign robotics. Much of the sovereignty will be defined by that. Okay? And if you don't have control of your own resources, your own infrastructure, your own, the computing, the cloud included, you don't have your own model, AI, you don't have your own application, you don't have your own sovereign robotics, the workforce, whatever the new world, then you don't have sovereignty. Your country, your family, or you will lose meaning. There's no sense anymore, right? Think about it. But in any case, I use this. I don't have time to draw this. That's where you can use AI. Doesn't matter. But AI cannot think for you, at least for now. Or people saying they can do protein. Well, again, you still have the people. If you want the machine to match the intelligent people, maybe in some aspect, calculations, computing can, but people more than that. And that's why ontology is not so simple, right? Just a digital twin. No. But it's why we focus on enterprise ontology rather than a person. A person, one person, is more complicated than the whole enterprise, whole business, whole bank, or even the whole country. It's not as complex as a person. If you want robotics replace person, maybe from the labor, from some sort of intellectual work perspective, it cannot replace a person, right? And as humans, you have to have that sense of pride, right? It is amplified. It could be a partner, but it's hard to replace you. If you are so easily replaceable, you better take action now. It's not good, really. You shouldn't be so easily replaceable. I don't see any way that robots can replace me, right? It's amplified. It's your partner. It's your worker, right? It's your subordinate. In the maximum, you have to be the leader. I want to mention that close, about 60 or something, right? Then the older guys or girls, whatever you call it, that older workforce, suddenly in the age of AI and robotics have special value because they know what life is. They know what world, that the world is actually running. Right? They don't just have all those fantasies, good ideas, creativity, right? Many people have a lot of capacity. The AI model is very capable, but they don't find the real problem to solve. They don't know what the real problems are, right? You cannot find it. They don't understand it. That's where the aging, right, give you that, you know what world is physically, right? You know what the problems are. Okay, your experience still matters in the age of AI. It's really more valuable than you think. Okay, so don't just underestimate yourself, right? So, any case, so today I can talk forever. So you see, we look at this, right? We talk about the new capital, right? The new financial ecosystem, right? But this is what Canada essentially proposed, right? To be third place, demilitarized zone. It's my, I use my idea to draw it up, right? Some sort of corridor, whatever you call it, right? And you really want to build a bridge between China and the US. To be honest, that's all you want to do. Okay, and I think Europe have a hard problem to solve, right? They are too, I don't know what is the best word. They're too bundled in the softer skills or emotional intelligence, whatever you call it, the soft power. Let's get physical, right? You can be very soft, but once you get physical, all your kind of, I don't know, like a high ground they try to take, I don't know how you can compete, right? That's why you're falling behind, in my opinion. Right? Like Canada, it's a wake-up call. You should act. You still have time, but you still, many pushbacks, many resistance for sure. Right? You look at it. Right? Sovereign robotics, my word, right? Okay, assembly or refinement. You're a rich country, but you have to use it in the AI and robotics way. You need a rail or capital to flow, because otherwise, how all the schools and talent and business going to flourish? Okay, I should explain it. I don't have to. You need regulation. You need laws. You need those infrastructure. That's important, right? AI, robotics, technologically, maybe that's like I put it. Maybe it's here, right? But again, you need capital to flow. You need all those material, energy, whatever you call it, the physical stuff. It's a three thing, right? It is into one. It's together, come together. Right? You don't know who is instigating the other. Right? They have to be. It's like a rope. You have many threads, right? Strands, right? You have to be able to weave it together. Otherwise, you cannot use it, right? So what else? Yeah, you need to engineer the reality, right? You can talk a lot. You have a lot of very elegant speakers, right? But you have to build it, right? Get it physical. Right? You want to be a global hub or sovereign robotics. You want to be the capable of asset-backed finance, right? Innovation. You have a lot of innovation, right? Everybody has a lot of innovation, right? But does it make sense or not? Can you really make it work? Right? It is about the physical capacity to act, right? Yeah, this is the layers that we try to put it together, right? So energy in the bottom, right? Infrastructure, and then computing, then the models, applications, and robots, right? As I said, the neural link is one kind of to make a person, right? Redefine that human being, right? Can be a drone, can be a rocket, can be a weapon, can be a dog, can be anything, right? Robotics, car, it is robotics, right? And maybe tomorrow you can manufacture eyes, right? As good as your human biological eyes, right? Could. Right? And you could probably change your limb, right? Your bone, right? It is possible, right? Nowadays, many of the surgeries you could use robotics, right? Previously it's impossible, but now you can. Okay, the humans will be redefined. Okay, and that's where you build the new workforces. Right, a whole biological silicon integration. It redefine the civilization. Right? We call it civilization. Obviously, the family, the business, the country, the nation. So you need to rethink. Right? As I said, you need engineers, you need scientists, you need workers, you need builders. You also need thinkers. Right? You don't have to be. Not everybody has to be a scientist. The philosophers, the thinkers, the politicians. Right? They're all very important. It's very hard to compare who is more important. There are many. You need millions and millions of people. You probably need under. If you really want to get right in the AI and robotics age, you need to double the population on Earth to do the real work. It's not like we have too many people. We have not enough. There are many things you need to do. Right? Canada, same thing, right? You have a labor shortage. skilled labor, right? You want to use AI robotics, like sovereign robotics as I propose, to solve that problem. But you cannot use an excuse not to continue to produce actual people, right? You cannot think that, well, you cannot do that, right? That would be detrimental to you. In any case, these layers, we'll look at it. The bottom part, foundational, right? Energy and elements, see, we talk about silvers, right? Lithium, grid, all this kind of energy, right? Like you could build the solar panels, you could put satellites and data centers or energy regenerators on the sky as well, right? You could go to another planet, get plenty of these silvers, whatever you need, right? Raw earth, rare earth, right? So why don't limit yourself to the planet, right? Okay. Layer 2, infrastructure, supply chain, logistic, rails of capital, money flow, right? The new financial ecosystem, you know, how we organize family, right? The transportation infrastructure, right? The computing, the chips, the hardware, whatever we call it, so many CPU, GPU, cloud, many nuance. You need local run. You need a new way, new design of chips, like Elon Musk AI5. IBM want to have a local mainframe, right? You look at NVIDIA have something that edge computing, Google, Microsoft, Qualcomm. In China, they have even more, right? Locally, meaning as a person, you don't want to say, hey, at night I need to link my brain to another grid and charge my brain. No, you should not do that. You should be self-sufficient, locally run your brain, right? Okay. Otherwise, you're not independent, sovereign human, right? So, in any case, the number 4 is model. Right? LLM, computer, vision, action, robotics, domain-specific intelligence. That's what I mentioned. You need ontology. That's more of the 5th layer, right? Application, the AI engine, financial ecosystem, risk management, manufacturing, mining, the space station, biological scientific study, medicine discovery, right? You know, the lawyering, you know, healthcare, nursing, so many, right? Service, in fact, it's almost exponential growth. You should target that, right? The power is no longer as you see it before. Right? The prosperity is changed, will be redefined. Right? That's what I really love the most. Layer 6, right? The sovereign robotics stand up, maybe get into 7, but 6 is enough, right? They have money. Right? The Neuralink is one of the good example. The drones, the rockets, right? Anything I call it robotic beings, right? Can be just a research agent, can be just a small, very small, like your button, you put it here, right? You could, as a medical device, right? You could insert something into your body, right, to make it a more strong, right? And one way to do it, right? So many things that cannot exhaust. I don't even know. Many things will come up, right? So that's what I mean. Now let's put into a little perspective. We talk about Canada. Okay, let me summarize it. I cannot spend too much time here. Okay, so finally, put Canada on the chart, right? So the title is the Canada or Canadian pivot, right? Physical AI, sovereign robotics, new workforce, new financial capital, demilitarized corridor and a manufacturer harbor. Think of harbor. What is harbor? Right? Harbor is at close to the shipyard, right? You can assemble it, you can distribute. Right? Singapore is such a thing, right? Canada, why not? Right? You have large land, you have a lot of harbors you can build for different industries, right? for reindustrialization. So put the Premier Carney right here, and this is Canada. Put it, this is Boston Robotics. There's Elon Musk. This Bank of New York, right? So here's Canada, right? You build a brain. You transform the digital twin, whatever ontology, physical reality, into something instantaneously, from the financial part, right? But again, here's the return to physics. The role you need to play, what is arbitrage, same thing, like, many of these 6 layers, mentioned body, HSBC, Dubai, EO, they have Mika, they have Mistral, Yang LeCoin, Demis Hazzardous, Jeffrey Hentham, HSBC, the Bank of England. In Canada, in China, you have BID, you have Gray, formidable lady there, right? Dong Mingzhu. This is Liang Wenfeng, DeepSeek, Huawei. Right? In Japan, you have SoftBank, Sun Zhengyi, right? Yang Zhilin, this is Moonshot, right? You have the chip maker in China, Shanghai. Again, you got Alibaba, Coin, Baidu, right? And finance is Singapore. This is WeChat, right? Here's Z AI, Zhipu, like GLM, what we produce, right? Minimax, right? ByteDance, Xiaomi. This is another significant individual. Okay, we're gonna come down. Fei Li, right? This is Bank of MaicroBanker, right? Qualcomm, right? Taiwan. What is this? TCMC, right? Okay. 这是张忠谋 this okay, this Jeff Bezos, right? Jeff Bezos, I think. Blue Moon, some sort of new AI company. I've not really spent time. There's another Andrew Wu, right? Good professor. Is Vidalio, AWS. We have not touched on it. It's more like a bedrock thing. We're going to examine that. It's quite significant as well. Doing well. They partner up. This is AMD Lisa, right? Lisa So. This is Justin Wang, Mark, right? Mark Zuckerberg, Sam Altman. This is Skill AI. Alexander Wang, right? I believe, right? OpenAI, Anthropic, Bill Gates, and Elon Musk again, right? Come here, Microsoft. You have BlackRock, right? You have Coinbase, right? Coinbase is significant, right? In the new financial part, doing well, right? Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Chase. We did something, but not really clearly presented, right? This is Mark Carney, this opportunity, a multi-trillion-dollar sort of convergence here for Canada, for everybody, really, the triangle, right? Again, we talked about it, the Canadian integration, the fortress, right? Whatever, the eastern part, the Belt and Road, China, the global south, right? Manufacturing, resource. This is the United States, obviously the big market, huge power. Again, European on the other side. See, there's the middle power, right? Canada strategic pivot. Again, the same idea. Right? Strategic reindustrialization, for my work, the AI, robotics, and financial blueprint. Right? So who's going to win? That's what we try to examine. We have to watch them, right? My proposal, right? You see that in previous show, enterprise ontology, domain private AI, sovereign robotics. I don't know if it sticks, but that's what I'm doing. I'm building now. Right? Again, I'm looking for partners and investors, right? Cannot do it alone. So essentially, that's what it is. But now let's listen to. Okay, let's sum it up. I invited two of my colleagues, MxFate, right? Gender neutral, and MxFate, and Borosa. Right? So they speak better English. They can summarize what I put forward, right, in a more succinct, convincing way. So take a listen, right? You might have a different opinion, but you can leave a comment or subscribe if you will. If you think it will waste time, they don't subscribe, right? So let's listen. Right?
Okay, let's unpack this. When you picture the future of AI, and I mean the real gritty industrial future, where does your mind go? Probably a server farm in California, right?
Or maybe a chip foundry in Taiwan or robotics lab in Shenzhen.
Exactly. The usual suspects. But what if I told you that one of the most strategic plays on the board right now, according to the sources we've got in front of us, is Canada? And not for, maple syrup reserves. We are talking about Canada positioning itself as a potential neutral corridor, a future manufacturing heavyweight for the global AI and robotics industry.
It sounds totally counterintuitive at first glance. It really does. But when you dig into the sources, and we're looking at analysis from the MaicroBanker channel, speeches from Mark Carney, WEF reports, it actually starts to look like the only logical move.
I have to admit, when I first saw the notes for today's deep dive, I thought, Canada, an AI superpower, really? But the more I read, the more I realized this isn't about software at all.
That's the key, and we need to get that straight right from the start. We are not talking about coding another chatbot. This is about reindustrialization. It's physical.
So the mission for this deep dive is to connect three massive dots that our sources lay out.
Right. First, you've got the geopolitics, what they call the Great Divergence. Then the rise of a new kind of workforce, sovereign robotics. And finally, you have to figure out how to pay for it all.
A whole new financial ecosystem. It's a huge scope. So let's start with the geopolitics. The sources keep pointing to this one speech by Mark Carney that really sets the tone.
Yeah, and he used a very specific word that stuck with me.
He didn't say transition.
He said rupture.
Rupture. Wow, that's a heavy word. A transition sounds smooth, manageable. A rupture,
Well,
that means something's broken.
that's his entire point, and the analysis backs this up. The age of easy global integration is over. The world is building fortresses.
Fortresses. So we're talking about protectionism, tariffs.
It's more than that. It's economic integration being used as a weapon. Our sources highlight how supply chains, financial systems, they're becoming tools of coercion. If you rely on another country for your critical tech,
You're vulnerable.
totally vulnerable. So nations are scrambling for strategic autonomy.
And this is where it gets really interesting for Canada. Because in a world of fortresses, you'd think everyone just locks their doors. But the analysis suggests Canada's trying something different, a pivot.
Yes, there's mention of a strategic partnership or, let's say, an opening with China. And here you have to look at the map. The concept is Canada acting as a kind of demilitarized zone.
A demilitarized zone for trade.
Precisely. A third place between the great powers, specifically the U.S. and China.
Okay, so walk me through how that would work in practice.
Well, think about the logistics. You have these huge tariffs between the U.S. and China. The source proposes an opportunity where Canada becomes the final assembly point.
So components come in from Asia?
Imagine batteries, chips, you name it. They come from Asia into Vancouver. Vancouver acts as this neutral hub. The goods are assembled there, maybe using Canadian energy, integrated with Western standards.
And they get exported as Canadian origin goods.
Exactly. To the U.S., to the EU.
So it's basically a way to get around the tariff walls.
The geopolitical loophole, yeah. But the source calls it classic risk management. In this fragmented world, the middle powers, the countries that aren't superpowers, they have to build bridges to survive.
It sounds like a geopolitical tightrope walk.
It is. But if they pull it off, Canada goes from just shipping raw resources to being a critical manufacturing hub.
Which brings us to the big problem, though, right? This source material is pretty blunt about Canada's demographics.
It is. The math is simple. Massive landmass, incredible resources, timber, minerals, agriculture,
Yeah.
but a small aging population.
Right. You can have all the lithium in the world, but if you don't have the people to process it, you're just shipping it raw to someone else who adds the value.
And that has been Canada's trap for a century. But this is where the second big dot it connects to the new workforce. And we're not talking about immigration.
We're talking about physical AI.
Yes, and we need to distinguish that.
Because when I hear AI, I think of the thing writing my emails.
That's generative AI. It deals in bits, text, images. The source hammers this point. This is about physical AI. Robotics. AI that can actually manipulate the physical world.
And the argument is that this is Canada's only path to reindustrialization, a collaboration between humans and robotic beings.
Robotic beings. It sounds a little sci-fi, I know, but the examples are grounded, like robots that can separate fibers for recycling.
Which is an incredibly complex task for machines, separating cotton from polyester in a pile of junk.
Immense sensory data, or managing mining operations in deep, dangerous pits where you don't want to send people. The source mentions acrobatics in agriculture.
Robots that can pick delicate fruit without bruising it.
And even community nursing.
Wait, community nursing, how does that work?
It's not about replacing the human connection. It's about augmenting it. The robot handles the heavy lifting, the 24/7 monitoring, the data collection, so the human nurse can focus on the patient.
So you're multiplying the effectiveness of a limited human workforce.
Exactly. But here's the catch, and this was a huge point in the MaicroBanker analysis. You can't just buy these robots off the shelf. There was a specific term.
Sovereign robotics.
This is the critical concept. If you build your entire national industry on a fleet of robots, you absolutely cannot have their brains living on a cloud server owned by a foreign company.
Because if that company or their government decides they don't like you anymore...
They pull the plug. Your entire workforce freezes.
Wow.
Sovereign robotics means local control. The robot's brain, its data, the compute. It has to be local. On the device itself or inside your country's borders, you need energy independence and compute independence.
You can't be a sovereign nation if your workforce can be switched off remotely.
That's it. It's a whole new spin on national security. It's not just tanks and planes anymore. It's making sure your mining robots don't go offline because of a server update in Beijing or California.
So to visualize how this all fits together, the source lays out this mental model, the 6 layers of the new economy.
Yeah, and this framework is really useful.
I found it super helpful. So layer 1, the foundation, is
energy. Simple as that. You can't run data centers or robots without massive, reliable power. The source flags nuclear, solar, and independent grids. No kilowatts, no AI.
Okay. Layer 2. This one surprised me. Materials.
The physical stuff. Lithium, copper. But the source gets incredibly specific about one material.
Silver.
Silver. They call it the perfect stone for the AI age.
Why silver? I mean, I usually just think of it as gold's cheaper cousin.
In the industrial world, it's king. It's the most conductive metal there is. You need it for advanced electronics, for high-efficiency solar panels, for the billions of sensors that a robotic workforce needs.
A robot needs a nervous system, and that nervous system runs on silver.
You got it. And the source mentioned a silver squeeze, right?
Yeah.
The analysis suggests that physical scarcity is a real problem, even if the paper market price doesn't reflect it yet. If the world is actually pivoting to robotics and solar, the demand for silver is going to go vertical.
And resource-rich countries like Canada are sitting on a lot of it. Okay, lasers 3.
Infrastructure. The boring but essential stuff. Logistics. Moving these atoms around. Shipping grids, ports, what the finance world now calls real-world assets.
The physical plumbing. Then layer 4 is compute.
The chips. NVIDIA, Huawei, the silicon brains. This is usually where people stop thinking, but it's just one layer in the stack.
Layer 5 is the models.
The software.
Yeah.
The LLMs we know, but also these specific world models, AI, that understands physics so a robot doesn't walk off a cliff.
And finally, layer 6 is applications.
The end result. The healthcare robot, the automated factory, the financial app.
The aha moment for me with this framework was that we all focus on layers 5 and 6, the cool software. But the whole argument is that you can't have them without layers 1 and 2.
You need the energy and the silver first. And that is Canada's leverage. They have the bottom of the stack.
Okay, so we have the resources, we have the plan for the robots. So here's the big question. If this is all so obvious, why isn't it happening already? What's the holdup?
The disconnect, according to our sources, is the money. It's financial.
The plumbing of the money part.
Yeah, exactly. The current financial system, TradeFi, traditional finance, it's just too slow. It's based on paper. It takes days to settle an international transaction.
And you can't have an automated supply chain moving at the speed of light, waiting 3 days for a bank wire to clear.
You need a financial upgrade, a new financial ecosystem. And the core of this, the sources argue, is tokenization.
Okay, turning things into tokens. And for anyone listening who hears token and just thinks of, a JPEG of a monkey, let's clarify.
Right. We're talking about turning real-world assets into digital tokens on a blockchain, a stack of timber, a barrel of oil, a bar of that critical silver.
So instead of shipping paper contracts back and forth, I just send the token and ownership transfers instantly.
Instantly, 24/7, transparently.
Yeah.
And to pay for it, you use regulated stablecoins, digital currencies like USDC or new bank-issued coins. It allows for instant settlement between, say, Dubai and Vancouver.
But this is where the geopolitics comes roaring back in, isn't it? The source described a digital currency wall emerging, two different rails.
Yes. On one side, you have Rail A, the US dollar block. That's USDC, PayPal, the traditional Western system moving onto the blockchain.
And Rail B.
That's the Enbridge project. China, the UAE, Thailand, Saudi Arabia. It's a system designed specifically to bypass the US dollar.
So the world of money is splitting in two, just like the supply chains.
And that brings us right back to Canada's pivot. The argument is Canada could be the financial hub that bridges these two rails. If you're the neutral corridor for goods, you can be the interface for the capital too.
It puts them in an incredibly powerful, but also incredibly delicate position.
Absolutely. And the friction is already showing. I mean, look at the lawsuits the material mentions.
Right. Elon Musk suing OpenAI.
That's a lawsuit about the soul of this new economy. Is it for profit or for humanity? Closed or open? And then you see the political clashes in the US over crypto banking.
These aren't just legal spats.
They're the growing pains of this new system trying to be born. It's the old world colliding with the new.
Speaking of collisions, there was one final concept in the source material. The human element.
The convergence of silicon and biology.
Neuralink.
Yeah, the source brings up Neuralink to make a bigger point about what it means to be a human being in an age of robotic beings.
The goal isn't just a robot that looks human.
No, it's about functional integration. It's not about tricking you. It's about a human and a robot working side by side, or maybe mind to machine, to achieve things neither could do alone.
Which brings us full circle. It's not about replacing the Canadian worker. It's about giving that worker a fleet of robotic colleagues to multiply their output.
That's the optimistic view, yeah. But it all hinges on that sovereign robotics piece. Because if you have a Neuralink, you want to be damn sure the control systems are local, secure, and yours.
So if we pull this all together, we've gone from tariff wars to robot miners to tokenized silver. What's the big takeaway?
I think it's that we're not just looking at a tech trend. This is a total restructuring. How we make things, where we make them, and how we pay for them. We're seeing a shift away from the purely digital world back to the physical one, but a physical world run by AI.
And the geography of it all suddenly matters again. It's not just the cloud. It's Vancouver. It's mines in the Yukon.
And it's the choice that every nation has to make. Are you going to be a passive consumer of this technology, or are you going to own the infrastructure?
Which leads us to that provocative thought the source leaves you with. It's a heavy one.
It is. The question is this. If we are entering an era of robotic beings as a workforce, and sovereign robotics is the only way to avoid subordination, is your country building its own brain, or are you just renting someone else's?
That is a question that should keep policymakers and, honestly, all of us up at night. Because renting a brain is fine until the landlord decides to change the locks.
Exactly.
So we want to encourage you to look at the physical side of AI. Don't just play with the chatbots. Look at the robots, the energy, the materials. That's where the next chapter is being written.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
Always a pleasure to explore the rupture.
See you on the next one.
Okay, thank you, MxFate and Borosa. I'm going to bring this to more frequently to my show, right? I could use some AI tools to make them better, right? But for now, it's very primitive, just a voice, right? So, yeah, let's see if anything to add, because otherwise I'm going to close it for today. We cannot cover everything, right? But seems everything is important. Not sure which one I'm going to stick with you, right? Not sure what you can get if you spend an hour with me, right? Let's see, Carney. That is the pivot, right? Maybe not entirely my one, right? MaicroBanker is one of my line of product, right? So it's simple, right? You need to create a third place, a corridor, right? A final assembly point. Doesn't matter how you say it. the direction is to reindustrialization. Right? They have to have local manufacturing. Right? You're a rich country, right? I don't know why the world, the fortress will be poorer, right? More frictions. The middle powers must build strategic autonomy. That's a given, right? The other aspect I want to focus on, maybe it's a big one that I'm building. Right? How do you really build up the ontology, right, for those sovereign robotics or for enterprise? Right? You have to take a deep dive into, I wouldn't say religion, but ancient text, right, ontology, not just some new, they have read a couple and then summarize and abstract. No, this the ancient text have a lot cover this, right? If you really want to build for the robotic beings or sovereign robotic beings, right? Sovereign robotics, right? That's the essential part. Right? It is not sufficient just to have the raw material, LLM, brains, nerve. No, that's more than that, right? It is more of a orchestration of layers, right? Any case, this takes a lot of time to get in, to build it up. I'll take a deep dive and see if I can make a presentation. It may take a few hours, but let's see. Again, be listening to, I think, Alice Karp, the CEO of Palantir, talking on the Davos, right? World Economic Forum, I guess, right? It's good. I mean, AI will act as the penetration test for society, right? Expose the raw in institutions that exist only on PowerPoint, right? That's his words, right? The global order is shifting, right? From the unipolar stability to a multipolar divergence-driven kind of reality. Only nations with integrated physical, cognitive, and financial layers can support the structural demands of the future. It could be my words, but in any case, don't get into that. So the U.S., right, the inner tight ball, the China, okay, the load bearing, right. It's two real players, right. Europe is kind of crumbling a bit, right. If you look at it, political denial, the energy kind of dependency, the deficit, right. Canada is a middle power, want to be, right. You have to readjust, maybe become another pole, right, power. It's a talent visual, right? That's why I'm showing you here. Maybe you can think about it, right? You have your own thoughts, right? Feel free to debate, to disagree, right? But this is a major message, right? You need to, it's a new operating system, reindustrialization. You need new ways of thinking, energy, capital, compute, right? This is like what I mean by sovereign robotics, right? It's a physical god of the reindustrialization. Right? First of all, you need to solve the workforce problem, right? Second, you need to really, you're sitting on a golden mountain, right? You have a lot of resources. You're a rich country. Right? You have so many highly educated people, right? They're very good people. Right? They use it properly, right? Don't just tax them, right? Give them something to re-enjoy their life, reintegrate. Reindustrialization is the key. Right? You have to have the made in Canada, right, manufacturing. There are ways that I don't know why people don't do that. It's kind of, any case, right? So, it's my proposal, right? You need financial capital, you need sovereign infrastructure, you need physical AI. So national sovereignty, those are three things you must have. Right? That's why your reindustrialization is a system of it's an upgrade, right? Reincarnation, if you will, right? The technology is there. You have a lot of talents and capital, right? you're rich, right? The missing variable, you need to do it, build it. Right? Don't just talk, okay? This is the great pivot, right? Maybe it's mine, right? It's not totally, right? It's a rupture, right? You need sovereign robotics in my words. That's my word. I call it, right? The new unit financial capital. I mean, new financial capital, like RWS, whatever you mean. But Canada should become the new financial capital. That's what I mean. If you do it right, okay? Like the Premier Carney is a financier, right? He knows the game, okay? And he knows what he's talking about. But I can see he's a little timid, right? Because a lot of oppositions, right? A lot of people don't understand, but they're very loud, they're very noisy, right? What can you do? Okay. Okay, the mandate reindustrialization via the physical AI, in different terms you can call it, right? The resource extraction, the timbers, the fishes, the mines, right? The new workforce, right? Not that just chatbots, it's physical, right? Getting physical, the energy, right? The minerals, the mines, you need to build hospitals, new highways, factories, right? New university, scientific study and research. Yes, excellent universities, right? You think Jeffrey Hinton and Ilya, they all started from the University of Toronto. Right? I used to live there. I don't know if I bump into them. I just studied a small lab like I'm doing, right? But it catches up like a fire, right? So yeah, talk about the 6th layer drawn in small part, right? Layer 1 and 2 is kind of divergent, right? A lot of constraints. You have to live in the physical reality. Right? 3 and 4, sovereign compute and infrastructure. That's kind of you need to build it up. It's a huge threat there, right? But you have to find a way to make it a future-proof, right? Local first, enterprise. Yeah, that's what I propose, right? You do have to use some of the Azure, AWS, and Google and others, right? Maybe you can consider Huawei or Alibaba. Okay, you can build your own. I don't know why. Maybe Elon Musk, maybe Jensen Huang will come up with another cloud. Right? Canada is this formidable player. I put in the chart. Hopefully, you're going to play your role, right? And here's layer 5 and 6, agentic shift, the biological interface, right? Neural interface integration, the frontier. And the result will be a hybrid workforce, a domain-specific agent, like the nurse agent, the miner agent, I call it micro doctors, micro nurses, micro lawyers, and micro bankers, right? Just a line of product I'm building, right? A lot of things you could do. It's not like I can do it all. I need partners, I need people. I need money, right? So the capital is one thing. It's a huge market. It's $1 trillion market, right? And exciting, it's meaningful, right? LLM is already capable, but we need many more other models, right? So here's the reality, right? You can flip over on a stage like in CS. You could do a demo, how many wrinkles you could iron out and in the shirt, but in reality is how you do it, right? That's why you need builders. You need to plug into the reality. Right? You cannot just talk or do a show and then go to sleep and sit down and hope people will applause and give you good words. What is that for? Why do you need that? Here's where I'll give you a little. There are many things I want to talk you through. I don't know who is listening, right? But if you want to build a new financial ecosystem, I mean, US is way advanced, but it's too short a history. Right? I don't know how many lessons they have learned. Right? The many smart people in Wall Street. That's really good, but just thinking maybe you need more scholars to study, right? To getting back to the real history, not the made-up history, okay? Get real, get physical, right? To study, right? What has been, how we got here, what is our next financial ecosystem, right? maybe Canada can contribute a bit. Go back to the real history, physically existing history, not made up one, right? You made up just for fun, right? You fool yourself. It's not good. Okay. So I think that's it. I will leave a lot of silver with you on the walls and house, right? Cheer up. But there's a large opportunity that you cannot afford to miss. Right? That's probably the core message. I call it Canada pivot. The word you take away probably the solvent robotics, right? Put together, right? It could be the financial capital, whatever the search. Right? Essentially, you need to build up your the person who doesn't hide. You need solvent. And you obviously need the domain travel and local travel robotics local line. Yeah, in any case, we can talk more. We don't have to finish everything. But let's see. So, okay. So finally, at least we'll put another on the chart.
人生几何？譬如朝露去日苦。